think I'm in background.
Good morning, everybody. Are we all here? Good morning. I see all the faces waving. Meeting streaming. There we go. We have Tracy in. We have Proudly South Africa in. There we go. We have Sheena. Hi, Sheena. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It is so awesome to see you all and meet you all. I'm just giving 1 minute extra for everybody just to come in. I think there was a bit of a connection issue, so just one moment. So awesome to be seated with all of you ladies today. Happy Women's Month. It's not over yet. We still have a few days to make moves. So let's connect with one another. Good morning, everybody. My name is Adrian. I'm known as Adi. I'm a wellness and agripreneur, and I am excited to share a little bit about what this forum means for all of us here today. We are gathering on the topic of agriculture. We are all pioneers, we are innovators, we are leaders, and we're hoping to connect the next generation of women with other women like us. We are here to empower women in the agricultural space. We are here to provide them with knowledge, skills, and inspiration to not only step into the leadership roles and build a legacy, but to actively influence agricultural policy and advocate for all of our rights. This program that is hosted by Proudly South Africa aims to equip women with the tools to adopt technology and innovation and to develop an entrepreneurial mindset that enables them and us to transform our farming activities into successful commercial ventures. Ultimately, the goal is to empower women and to become the driving force behind a more equitable, innovative, and prosperous agricultural sector. Who runs the world? Girls. It's lovely to meet you all this morning. Once again, thank you all for having me. My name is Adi, and I'd like to welcome Proudly South Africa just to share their video and let us get an insight as to what they're doing, who they are, and how we can all be a part of it. We'll just wait for the video to start streaming.
There's a voice that is calling. There's a voice that is calling, loudly calling, day by day, the voice of the future.
When I started my business, all I wanted was to create jobs and a legacy for the next generation, because I see opportunity when others see impossibility.
It all started with a thought and then a seed in the garden, which grew into my very own farm that feeds the whole nation daily.
Cotton, silk, and a little bit of treasury, I create masterpieces that give South Africans an identity, comfort, and confidence, because when you look good, you feel good.
From the factory workers to the warehouse and then over the seas, I want to show the world what proudly South African looks like. It all started with just some ink on paper and inspiration to bring people together. With my furniture, I now help create spaces that are beautiful, comfortable, and authentic to human light and connection.
I've always been driven by curiosity. It fueled my dreams to create automobiles that accelerate our nation into greater possibilities and the beauty of the unknown.
I was born into a rainbow nation. My life has been full of colors and mixed flavors. And when I started my bakery, I wanted to share that joy with the world and with South Africans in particular.
All I ever dreamt of was to be a bird and fly high. And now I have the wings to help others fulfill their dreams of flying high too.
But it can only be a dream until you make it a reality. All they need is your faith, your trust, your loyalty, your appreciation.
And most importantly,
your support.
Because supporting local businesses
helps create jobs
and secures our future.
South Africa, their future is in your hands. So what are you going to do about it? Be proudly South African. Buy local to create jobs.
Wow, dynamic and super empowering, and I'm very proud to be associated with such a member-based audience and a movement that is doing things for our women in our country. I am a product of what this country has done for me. Just want to make sure you can all hear me. There you go. Yeah, so my name is Adi. I'm an agripreneur and a founder for Pasture and Plate. It's a small working farm in Honeydew. I'm transforming a once neglected piece of land into a super thriving space, I'd say, that combines food production with a sanctuary for rescued farm animals. And my mission is to try to create a profitable, sustainable farm so that I can offer our families in the future a place to connect, engage, and heal. So, with what I would like to encourage the young woman of today is agripreneurship is all about using agriculture and business skill sets to fund this lifestyle, a life that can not help us to not rely on grocery stores, medical facilities and care, because we're wholesome within, we're healthy. There's a lot about sustainability that we need to talk about and that we can look at when we look at why we do what we do as farmers. Agriculture is not only about food, but it's also about people. It's people that make this, that harvest our land and help it grow. It is people that look after the animals. As you know, they don't just roam free and they don't get fed and themselves. And we are crucial in that. So as people, are we finding an opportunity in our spaces? I want all our young women to see that there's an opportunity in every corner of this farm. We recently had renovations done, and there was a ton of broken and old leftover bags laying around. And instead of having it discarded and thrown away, I thought to myself, every centimeter on this property needs to be able to bring an income for us. So we had soil and compost mixture. They're all here to say hello to all of you too. So we had soil and compost mixture, and we started putting in seeds that were donated, and we just tried to find opportunity. And I think that sometimes as women, we become a little bit short-sighted when we hear a lot of no's, because quite often in this industry there's a lot of very bulky masculine machinery being used, and there's these men in these like formal outfits, and it can look a little bit daunting. So as women in this space, we do come across that masculinity a lot, and we do come across no's a lot. And for us, it's to seek the opportunity and just to keep pushing. With it being Women's Month this month as well, you know, we try to find different opportunities for women to come onto our farm, and not in the name of agriculture. Women don't know, well, not just women, but people in our community, they don't know what they don't know. And that means I try to host a workshop to teach families to become self-sustainable by growing their own crop. I kid you not, there was not one ticket sold, and the marketing was extensive, but I don't think they knew the need that they had. So I call them in on different pretenses. So we use a family engagement model on our farm. We have an eatery, so we're using food, and we have wellness. So we have yoga, Pilates, and meditation. We're bringing a wellness culture and teaching women about agriculture through that. So with that being said, I think it's really important that although people don't understand the importance of food scarcity, we are here to show them why. And if you have a piece of garden, or if you have an auntie or uncle's piece of land, or a little a venture to start with the next generation or the elderly, get them involved and start small. You have to start somewhere. And that's what's really exciting about this panel, is that if you don't know where to start, we have a panel of amazing entrepreneurs, of economists even, and women that are out here to build for the next generation of our country. And with that being said, I would like to start to welcome some of these ladies onto our panel. Before I do that, is there any questions from our public? Are there any questions from any of you that are listening at home today, and you're excited, you don't know where to start, you have a question? Let's get into it. If there are any questions, I'll see them popping up, and you can always just let me know. Okay, so we'd like to welcome E2 Farms. I'm calling Mohadi Mafakalasi. She's the relationship and stakeholder manager for the farms. And I would like to give you a platform to share with us what it is that you guys do on your farm. And ma'am, please explain to us why it is that you found this as to be your calling. You're still on mute, Moghadi. If you could just unmute your mic. I see you, ma'am. Are you okay there? Okay, we'll just give her 1 minute to find herself around her computer over there. If you just unmute on the...
Hi, hello. Tech seems to be playing tricks on me this morning. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everybody. My name is Moghadi Mpakalasi. I'm a stakeholder and relationship manager at Dow Eggs. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be joining you on this Women's Month.
Thank you so much. It's very lovely to have you here. We'd love to hear a little bit about what it is that you do, ma'am, and share with us viewers as to what gave you the calling to wake up one day and decide this is where I'm at. Agriculture is where I'm at, and working with stakeholders to bring in the greater public. How do we do that beneficially?
So it was all an accidental encounter, I suppose. I've got a psychology background, and I joined a media company in 2016. And down the line, with the vision of our CEO, we were exploring this and that, getting into the food industry. And the inspiration really was to just make sure that we provide food to the public, but then making sure that at least we provide that with affordable prices. And the only way we realized we could do that is by getting into the farming industry, getting into so that we own the value chain, and we are able then to provide that affordability aspect. So then we went into exploration, bought a farm in the Free State, a layer farm in the Free State in 2022. And incidentally, it was in the Women's Month. We placed our first flock actually on the 9th of August in 2022. With nothing, our colleagues and myself, we had no experience whatsoever in the poultry industry. We just went in there with just a courage, a vision, and a determination to make things work. And fast forward 2025, we now have 2 layer houses housing 60,000 laying hens. And from then on, since 2022, we then build a rearing facility where we grow day-old chicks to 18-week-old point of layers, and then we transfer them to our layer facility, also based in the same farm in the Free State, a 214-hectare layer farm. So we currently produce about 53,000 eggs per day, and distribute those to our partners in Gauteng as well as the Free State currently.
Wow, that is really extensive. What, if you don't mind me asking, what system do you have to manage this amount of expansion? Because it sounds to me that your expansion was gradual, but also quite close together in your years and in your time. How does one facilitate the management of that expansion?
It really is a concerted effort and teamwork. And I must add that it really is run, this whole operation, I'm going to say 80% of it is run by women. So it's just that it's often said that men make the world own the world, but the women make it go around. So like you say, it seems gradual, but it's always intense. And so it really takes a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, and resources, which we all know are quite scarce. And this, our CEO has managed to really do this without any funding whatsoever. It's a self-funded project that we have. But here we are. I mean, we've got 2 automated layer houses, and the rearing facility is also automated.
And do you facilitate or offer learnership opportunities for young women in this agricultural space to come and offset their hours, their study hours? Do you welcome the public in to learn about what you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've actually had some learners from the University of Potchefstroom. When we opened our rearing facility, we had an intake of learners that came through to do their practical work there. And we are always keen, and people are welcome to call us, get in touch with us, and
That's fantastic that you offer that as an opportunity. I will definitely be sharing your details, and Proudly South Africa will too, so that if there are any viewers that would like to come, they can then arrange with you and take this step. You know, a lot of people don't know how or what, but here's someone that's stepping forward. It's like our doors are open, and I think that we should all just take that opportunity and find a place near you where you can go and learn. Mentorship also, you've been around for a very long time in this agricultural. Do you think that our agricultural space offers a lot of that, or do you see that we are a very closed community? Are there spaces that young women or even matured women who are wanting to learn, can they go just for mentorship? Where could we find that in this space?
For the most part, you know, forums, and now with the socials, it's gotten better with time, because before you had to get an invite like we have today. But in this day and age, all of us have you know, mobile phones, and the system is quite open. So it's really for people to open their minds and be active in the socials. There's a lot of really great and open opportunities for everybody to. It's just, you know, you've got to take the step. Sometimes we overthink things too much. I need this, I don't have that. But you know, just make the call. You know, you lose nothing. You lose absolutely nothing if you contact somebody and you say, look, I'm doing this and that, I'm in this space. Is there an opportunity for that? We must not be afraid of a rejection. You know, that is part of growth. And when your opportunity comes, it will definitely happen for you.
Thank you so much, Bukhari, for sharing all of this valuable insight with us. On the topic of growth and on the topic of reaching out for support and help, I'm going to take a daredevil approach to this and say that we do need IT and technology to help assist the expansion rate of our industry. Is it not so? I know us as agricultural specialists, we love to put our hands in the ground. We don't want to hear about technology. We don't want to hear about IT. I know this. But Tracy Davids, you are here with us today to share a little bit about that with us. You are the Executive Director at the Commodity Foresights and Commodity Markets and Foresights Program. So welcome to you and your stakeholders with us today. We are very excited to have an entire PhD in agricultural economics, and with over 15 years in your industry, Tracy, I think that we can definitely learn something from you as to how to rely on tech and IT in our industry. So welcome with us this morning. You have the floor. Would you like to share with us a little bit about where you come from, Tracy, and what it is that you do?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great privilege to be able to speak to you today. As an economist by trade, I had to prepare a presentation. I guess that's just the way our brain functions. But maybe I'll just say something about myself before I do that. So yeah, as you noted, I've been around 15 years with BFAP now. I was smiling when Mokhadi said she got into agriculture by accident, because I guess you can almost say the same about me. I realized that I wanted to be in agriculture, but I wasn't sure what, and went to the university open day and got convinced that agricultural economics is an area where one can have a big impact, and where one can influence the space that can make the sector successful. And yeah, BFAP has been a great place for me in terms of shaping my career from a young researcher to where I am today. So when I was thinking about how to approach this, I realized that the technology and specifically the data analytics space, which ties to that, is very much where we operate and what excites us. So I thought maybe the best way to excite participants was to show you a little bit about BFAP, what we do, how we do it, what we believe, and some of the impacts that we have managed to achieve. So hopefully that excites you a little bit in terms of the opportunities that there is for influence, in terms of the sector's growth trajectory, but also profitability on your own farm. So
if I can just share with our listeners and our readers quickly that BFAP stands for the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy. So we are learning from people who are doing great things here today. It's an honor to learn and to be guided. So yeah, we're having research straight out of Stellenbosch University here too, if I stand to be corrected. Tracy?
Yeah, we are associated. We're an independent research institute, but with some association with Stellenbosch University as well. Right, so just to confirm, is my screen visible?
Visible, yes.
Super, thank you. Yeah, so as I said, I want to focus a little bit first on the data analytics space. I think within the topic I was asked to talk about, that's what really caught my eye, because that's obviously what we have a passion for. But of course, technology and IT and so forth is a big enabler of that. So I'll talk a little bit about BFAP, who we are, what we do, and then just end off with one slide that speaks a little bit to possibilities in the digital space in particular, and how we see that influencing the sector going forward. So to tell you a little bit about BFAP, as was just mentioned, it's the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy. We're an independent research institute that was established in 2004. Very much a multidisciplinary team, around 25 people, 60% of that is women, across multiple fields of speciality, but with a common passion for agriculture. And I think that's what really ties us together, in that we want to see the sector succeed and unlock its full opportunity for influence, and to drive growth in South Africa. So our purpose really is to objectively inform decision making, both at a strategic level for private companies, at a policy level for government. So we operate across the agricultural value chain, public sector, private sector, and in donor communities, and we really strive to see better decisions made that can drive the sector forward and optimize its performance. We do operate across Africa, so obviously we are based in South Africa, and most of the work that we do is in South Africa, but we do believe that we're part of a bigger region, and if we're to unlock Africa's true potential, then agriculture's true potential, then that occurs also at a regional level and not just in South Africa. We believe that to do that, people matter, the environment, profits and investment, and sustainability. These are sort of four core factors that underpin what we do. I think you need to get all of them right if you really want to unlock the full potential within agriculture. And we believe that through independent research-based analytics that's underpinned by a lot of experience in the industry, advanced simulation models, which is where we rely on the technology as well, we believe that this contribution can really help to generate an environment within which the sector can truly thrive. This is a busy slide. It sort of just gives you the different aspects of where we work. We call it our integrated analytical ecosystem, because none of these operate alone. Normally it's multiple aspects tied into specific projects. And as I said, technology is a core enabler of that. But across our team, we have people focused in the natural resource space, optimization of the resources that we were given as a country, land use modeling, geospatial context, climatic resources, crop modeling. What do we have to work with, and how can we best utilize that as a country? Farm and production analytics, which is very much profitability, whole farm planning, budgeting, financial simulations. How does that look going forward if we start to change things in different scenarios? How does that influence the bottom line? We've got our agri-socioeconomics, which is very much monitoring and evaluation based. So looking at optimizing also inclusion and development projects, how to make those sustainable. And unlock the full benefit of that. We've got our consumer and food economics team, which look at food inflation, food affordability, very much the consumer and spending environment. We've got our commodity markets and foresight, which is where I spend the bulk of my time. And there we look at agricultural markets, the space that they operate in globally, macroeconomy, how that influences them, which direction that drives them, and also what we can do to influence that direction to come to an optimal solution. And we've got our value chain team, which looks to optimize costs and product flow across the entire chain to see what efficiency gains can be gained there. And then we've got our integrated systems and data science, which is really the enabler of all of this. So this is where the bigger technology happens. And this team typically stands together with the subject matter specialists to really ensure that the full benefits of what they can offer is unlocked. We do believe that agriculture has a vast potential, but it is operating in an increasingly volatile and difficult, uncertain environment. And I think there's a presentation coming on that later, so not to preempt it. But this is from our BFAP baseline, our outlook for the agricultural sector, which we launched just a few weeks ago. And you can see if you just look at real agricultural GDP, it's grown very strongly, albeit very volatile for many years, most of the past 20 years. It has come under significant pressure in recent years. And if we look at the baseline outlook, which we would say is a business as usual scenario, then growth is really a little bit limited in this challenging and complex environment. And I think the document, it's available on the website, it discusses a lot of reasons behind that. But then we also noted that in a scenario where we can change a few things, where we take some action and implement some of the reforms that have been proposed in the sector, we really can also grow a lot faster. And that's the green line. And I think at BFAP, we really see our role as sitting in between those two and contributing to make sure that we end up on the green line and not on the blue one, which is your sort of more business as usual type of approach. So to actively influence investment strategies and the policy environment, what does it take? I think there's a number of factors to consider, but I pulled out a handful here. Firstly, you have to be in the arena. You have to be part of the discussions. You have to communicate your research, your findings. I think, as I said, the world's become more uncertain, more volatile, and foresight environment increasingly complex. So we need to make sure that the reforms that we suggest are firstly backed by sound analytics, but also are very practical and implementable so that they can actually be applied and implemented in the sector. Of course, it needs to be based on rigorous, independent, unbiased analytics. I think to look forward and to illustrate potential outcomes, quantify impact before decisions are taken certainly helps our policymakers and also our strategists and our companies to make better decisions going forward. And then also just to say that networks and partnerships are core. So we really believe that that's a core ingredient of success. Over our 20-year history, we've relied strongly on partnerships with academia, with industry, across public and private sector, and also with several international research institutions. So just very quickly to mention a few examples of work that we are involved in and impacts that we feel we've had. As I said, I hope that this can excite people for the possibilities within this space and to get involved. So as I said earlier, we publish on an annual basis the BFAP baseline, which is really, it's an assessment of the state of agriculture, where it's at, what the main challenges and opportunities are, and also where it's headed. But then at the same time gives a joint platform to discuss solutions and to say, how do we solve these challenges and how do we how do we optimize its growth path going forward? Then the one in the picture, that's the regional food balance sheet. So that's a live platform where we provide monthly updates on production conditions, availability, market information, etc. for 6 countries across Southern and Eastern Africa. And that's used quite widely, particularly in the policy space. We've done a lot of work before on tariffs, so informing historic tariff decisions in the poultry industry, in the wheat industry, also assisting those in that negotiation environment, something like the renewal of AGOA in 2015, and also more recently in terms of quantifying the impact and trade-offs with the US tariff situation that we're currently facing. We also did a bit of work to inform the agriculture agro-processing master plan, and specifically also within poultry, the poultry sector, to inform the sector's competitiveness, what drives it, and what should be addressed in their master plan. Then to specific industries, we've also done a lot of sort of impact assessment. The citrus industry we've worked with quite widely in terms of strategy when they were struggling in 2022, looking at the impact of high shipping costs, the cost of compliance with EU sanitary and phytosanitary measures, the cost of logistical bottlenecks, all of which they used to negotiate with stakeholders and service providers to ensure that their industry is more sustainable. We've looked at the health promotions levy for sugar. And then again, on the picture on the right, we helped the red meat industry to develop a strategy for growth following the agriculture agro-processing master plan, looking at what possible targets could be and what pathways there are to get there to accelerate inclusive growth within that sector. We've looked at disease impact, currently helping them with things like foot and mouth disease. We've looked at avian influenza outbreaks, the impact of that, African swine fever. We've looked at impacts of losing access to certain chemical products, given the EU's policy space within our export-orientated industries. And all of these becomes, again, negotiation tools to influence that policy space and to prioritize within that policy space. And in that, we've also done a lot of work in Africa to say, if you have a limited budget, what should your priorities be within that policy environment to ensure that you unlock growth in that agricultural sector? The last one on these examples is one that our data science team have been particularly involved in. It's called data-intensive farm management. So here they've worked with a group of farmers that are part of the project, and they take data from precision farming equipment, which is, of course, a lot of data, and analyze that and rework that in order to be able to optimize input use and ultimately profitability on farm. So there we just have some of the analytics and some of the team when they were visiting some of these farms. And then, we also do a lot of proprietary work for private clients, but that's, of course, not something that can always be shown on a platform like this. So just to leave you, I wanted to just touch on that digital technology space. I think it's something that's evolving super quickly if you look at things like artificial intelligence and so forth. But just a broad overview of what we think it brings to agriculture and what we think it can assist with. We've divided here into a few categories. So in terms of enhanced supply chain management, things like traceability, ensuring product quality, consumer confidence in your product, optimizing logistical systems, which is something that's quite a challenge in South Africa, and it can assist with that. And then also decisions based on real-time data and analytics of that, which I think can be very helpful. Improved production efficiency, things like precision agriculture, which can reduce costs, improve productivity, automated systems, early disease detection using things like AI, which can help to act timeously and when things are detected. I think enhanced market access, and I think that's where a lot of our smaller producers can also benefit in terms of digital marketing, direct sales to consumers, better in access also to input procurement, and also pricing systems, again, driven by real-time data to give some negotiation power and also to ensure that prices are competitive. I think all of this requires some support on the government front, from a policy and incentive perspective. How do we support the adoption of digital technology within the sector? And I think public-private partnerships are key to that, to not only accelerate innovation, but also to make sure that adoption is seamless and easy. And then I think some potential challenges, just to note, I think, something like the digital divide. So to ensure that there's equitable access, to ensure that there's connectivity, so that the maximum benefit from these digital technologies can be unlocked. And then there's always worth mentioning just cybersecurity risks, which is protecting people's data and the infrastructure to do that. And then also addressing concerns about privacy. So, often these digital technologies are quite data intensive and rely on people putting their data in, but then we have to be sure that that data is protected and private. Yeah, so that's all I have for you. Thank you.
That's not all you have. That's everything. Thank you so much for guiding and sharing so much of that with us. I feel like I was in a lecture, and then it brings me to my next question is, you're obviously quite a large stakeholder in the space of IT and technology and innovation. How are we going to share everything that you have, really what you give businesses, both private and public sector? How do we share that with everyone on the rest of this world, like that needs this? I'm thinking this amount of analytical expertise should be filtered through to tertiary educations in some way. Can we look forward to our people being able to learn these systems to then go out and make a greater impact? Will you be able to grow our nation through what you are doing in business and corporate sectors? Can you do that for the people, and when can we expect that? Because I've got a lot of sign-ups for you.
Yeah, we like to think so. I think if you can optimize that business environment, of course, there are spillovers like employment and so forth. But then in terms of the skills, absolutely. And I think we, as BFAP, we originated in that tertiary education sector. We did eventually register as an independent institute, but we're still very much involved. So a lot of our team do guest lectures at relevant universities in that agricultural economics department. We're involved also at Stellenbosch with the chair in precision agriculture. So we have some of our analysts involved in that. And then also in the postgraduate study space. So a lot of our researchers also act as co-supervisors in postgraduate studies. So we do like to think that we contribute there. We at least we try to optimize that contribution. And then we've also, a lot of our researchers joined, as internships and grew from there and ultimately became part of the team and more senior researchers within BFAP. I think developing capacity in South Africa, but also the rest of the continent is really a passion of ours.
And on that passion, what do you think that us as innovators can do to collectively ensure that women are stepping into more leadership roles in this space? As you have said, a lot of this sounds like it needs to be learned and taught, and how are the opportunities translating into, again, I said the leadership role aspect, because that's still something that we're dealing with in South Africa, surely, on the ground more than where you are sitting, but it's still a conversation that needs to be had. What do our women need to know to get from where they are at ground level to this leadership space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at times they just need a platform. And I think, from my perspective, I was lucky in where I ended up and was given a lot of support within BFAP. I think things like mentorship is key. Things like networking, it comes back to relationships. I think that's critical. But then also to come back to the digital space, from a leadership perspective, the amount of information out there just on the internet that you can enrich yourself, your leadership skills, broaden your base of reference is often freely available. And I think the era that we are in now in terms of digitization has made that so much more available than what was the case historically. So I think, for us to upskill ourselves in that space is really up to us, right?
No, that's fantastic. That is also a question I had posed earlier, is to providing the platform to do so. Even just here on the farm, we never had a Wi-Fi as an example, and it was a question: do I want people to come and connect, or do I want people to come and connect? And stepping over into business from farm, I realized that in order to pull more people in, I need to give them a sense of security and safety that, hey, you can still come and connect. And now we're finding people are starting to work work from this facility as opposed to going out to a coffee shop or a restaurant. And as they see things happening in front of them, they're now saying, oh, this is what it takes to run a working farm. And they're actually learning by just being here. On, like I said earlier, totally different pretenses of coming to have a meal or being connected on Wi-Fi. So small things, but yes, it takes an intentional decision and a step to be in the right place and to learn. And with that being said, Tracy, thank you for all your valuable insights. It's been a real pleasure and an honor to speak with you today. I'm super excited to welcome our next guest over, Sheena Paulus. Very welcome to you. You are quite a entrepreneurial mindseted person, is that not so? You have used a lot of your strength in strategic thinking, connectedness, positivity, input, and continuing to help us over your, not just even 18 months, but many years, to plant many seeds around South Africa. Please share with us what you do at TriToad and the work that you are facilitating currently.
Okay, so good morning, ladies. I'm really honored to be here. AD, thank you so much for being such a great host. I feel very honored to be here and surrounded by so many, what is the word? Amazing women. I've been listening to everyone's stories and I'm very inspired and I've got lots of questions for everyone. But before we get to the questions, I'm Sheena Paulus. I am the founder of TriToad Nursery. It is a nursery that I start, a plant nursery, because sometimes when I say nursery, they think it's kids. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to start a creche. So definitely in plants. The sector that I focus in is the commercial side. In the seedling side, I started over 3 years ago, whereby I sat down, I created a vision board after doing some intense meditation and questioning as to what it is I really wanted to do and what I wanted to be part of and where I saw myself. And the agriculture sector somehow just spoke to me. And for about 2-3 years, I started doing a lot of research into greenhouse farming because I was fascinated with greenhouses. And it was mostly on the internet because we're talking about 5 years back, 5-6 years back. And from there, I started a vision board with these, I put pictures on there with massive tunnels and automated fancy greenhouses. And I knew that I was going to grow something and I'm going to export it one day. And so from there, I then started doing research. I put a business plan together. I then approached the Department of Agriculture, Western Cape, the CAPS funding. I presented the plan. They then recommended that I focus on seedlings as opposed to just vegetables, so start small, which I did. And from there, I started a seedling nursery with a grant inputs that they gave me. When I got the inputs, it was physical inputs such as trays and seeds and fertilizers and things, no physical cash. And I then rented a place in Philippi, Cape Town that had an existing greenhouse, all manifested through this vision board that I put up. And I started getting on the phone. I then started selling these seedlings to garden centers such as Stodel, Cape Gardens, Buco. These are all big garden centers out here in Cape Town. They've been around for many years. And I started selling my seedlings through Stodels, and then from there it grew. And the quality is exceptional. I didn't have green fingers like everyone assume. I just have a key for observation and for paying attention and then noticing, okay, this is what you're saying, this is what you need. And from there, it's been an ongoing learning curve for the last 3.5 years. I've grown the nursery from 0 to a turnover of 3 million in over less than 3 years. I've been consistent with my growth. It was just me in the business, and now I've got 12 permanent employees, mostly women. I also have a wellness mindset, so I bring that into the business. So my ladies know about yoga and meditation and eating properly, sitting properly, becoming more conscious. And a big part of the nursery, not by default, by clear intention, was to give back to the community. And within my first 6 months of trading, I experienced such a lot of overgrowns, and I sat with these losses, and I'm like, what do I do with it? And I then just started picking up the phone, calling schools, calling prisons, churches, and I said, please come pick up seedlings. I've got plenty. And from that, my waste model became evident that there's always going to be a portion of waste overgrowns, and that would then naturally feed back into the community. And the team and I have donated over 3 million seedlings over the last 3 years. And we've seen the impact that has done in communities. And that's probably one of the driving forces that keeps us in business, even though I want to give up sometimes. I know I'll never give up, but when it becomes rough and tough and funding is challenges and cash flows is challenges. So I stay focused on the community impact side of stuff, because there's a lot of blessings that come through that. Also, the nice thing is about giving back to the community. They also then become our customers now. So a lot of the communities we've assisted initially with gardens are now thriving in their own gardens. They're also receiving funding from various funding houses to support them further. So that's a nice impact that we feel through our business. And in a nutshell, I think that I'd like to share today that it's become more and more profound that sharing our stories, especially women of color, when we share the story, we really don't realize how many people we inspire and impact. And I remember going through challenging times in my life where one of the first businesses I was involved with my husband, we lost the business, lost the house, went through all kinds of tough times. But I remember clearly that what kept me going was that I needed to really stand within myself and become clear as to what it is that I wanted to do, and use those lessons that I learned in that first business and then plow it back into my own business now. And I share the story, and then I have so many people that come to me and they say, wow, you inspired me. And then I remember when I was feeling low, I saw someone, a lady that supplies Woolworths, and I saw her story a few years ago, and she inspired me just by seeing her story. So I think it's very important that we share our stories, because the impact we make on others' lives just by sharing is so crucial to move us out of that difficult spaces that we are in sometimes. And I think that's probably the most profound part of my journey, is to share the story. Because a lot of people come to me and say, wow, I've seen this, I've watched this, and I'm now doing this, and I'm now inspired to do that. And like I say, that is very important when you're going through difficult times and you're able to find inspiration from someone, somewhere, or reading something. So today I'm here to share my story, and it's a story of resilience. It's a story of independence. It's a journey of self-discovery. Entrepreneurship to me is probably, wow, it's the most challenging space to be in, but I cannot imagine being anywhere else. And I'd like to just continue sharing my truth, and not just always sharing the great things that everyone see on social media. Because when people speak to me, I tell them straight, hey, it's a rough out here. Hey, I'm not going to kid. You need to know this, so that when you go into it, you need to be prepared. Don't just get excited about the fact that you're seeing something growing and it looks big and it looks great and looks easy. It's very difficult, but it's the most rewarding, and I think it's probably the one vehicle that any human being can use to grow themselves at an exponential rate. You test it every single day of your life. And I must say the growth, yeah, sometimes I have to sit and say, whoa, just take a minute. You really, you've done a lot. You've grown a lot, and yeah. So that's my introduction, and I think it's just to give women, and not just women, youth, women, young men, everyone, a sense of inspiration. That's what I would like to do. So I'm open to any questions. Otherwise, I'll keep talking and I'll keep running my mouth down. But it's the most beautiful space to be in, guys. Ladies, I walk into a 3,500 square meter plastic tunnel every day, and it's filled with life, constant life, just growing. If I go back after a week into the nursery and the plants has grown at least 3 to 5 centimeters, I can see the growth. The flowers, I've had moments where I would pull up at the nursery and I would get the worst news of my life. It would be something that would really make me feel sad. And I would walk into that space and it would lift up my energy. So environment is so key and so important to me as well. So sharing that environment with everyone has become my gift. I invite people to the nursery. A lot of people that are pensioners, they come in there, especially on a Wednesday, and they'll just walk around. They just lose themselves there. I do have schools that come for excursions. We do that for free. We train them, we show them how we sew, we show them how we recycle products. We've taken our waste, we've taken our overgrowns like herbs and chilies, dried it out, mixed it with salts, busy with the whole agro processing pilot, aligning with one of our celebrity chefs here in Cape Town, Jenny Morris, to make a recipe. This is all from waste. And showing this to everyone that comes there. And people ask me sometimes, are you not, what is the word someone said? They said it in Afrikaans, but basically saying, oh, you share everything. Are you not afraid they're going to take your business model, your idea, your this? And when they said that, I had a moment where I felt, yeah, people can literally walk out there and they can go replicate this and they can go do it. And then it hit me, well, we are all unique in our own way, and I don't feel threatened by it. I've been in this space now in the agriculture space for 4 years, and giving every single day of my life has not taken anything from me. In fact, I have clients walking to me. I attract the clients. I don't even look for them. I have them coming to the nursery saying, hey, we saw your product here. We'd like to list you. And I believe that's how you get your blessings. So you need to share, and we need to educate, and we need to show people how it's done, and not be afraid that they're going to go try it. And in fact, none of what I'm doing, I came up by myself. Somewhere, somehow, my subconscious absorbed it somewhere. So you don't own anything. So yeah, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
You have an absolutely incredible story. I can't believe you have covered as much as you have in the short space of time that you have. And yes, like you should say, stop and smell the roses, because you've done so much, and that's incredible. And I have a question to ask you based on your sorry everybody, the wind is a bit hectic, but I am indoors, so I hope that it will be okay for your ears. Sorry about that. Okay, so my question to you is, you have a very large facility, and you are also in the community, on the ground, working with people that you don't necessarily know. As a woman, please talk to me about how you are doing this safely, because your farm is located in a not so suburban, safe area, and you have to drive in and out, and you're not just a business owner, you're also doing the marketing, you're also doing the sales, you're also doing the deliveries, you're also connecting, engaging with your admin and your stakeholders, you also probably a mum, we as women have so many roles, much less in our homes, but in our businesses, in our day-to-day life. how are you able to successfully run this operation safely? One of the things that I'm referencing in my own farm is that I've dealt with obviously a lot of males who are very strong-willed, they're opinionated, they know more than I do because they've been on this earth for longer than I have, and they come across a bit aggressive. When you say no as a woman, and I often find myself on this farm, sometimes alone, but also with a flood of people that I don't know. And I sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed with how I can keep the operation, not necessarily the gates, but the whole operation
safe. Yeah.
You've done that because you've gone and expanded, and you're in a community where your community is also looking out for you. Is that not so? It sounds like they love you just as much.
Eddie, I think that there's always this element of safety. I don't even feel like taking a walk alone sometimes, and then I'm having this battle in my mind as to, are you now going to be projecting the fear and then attracting it, or are you going to, yeah. But I must say that I am fortunate enough to the space that I rent is completely enclosed. It has got 24-hour security. It's got electric fence. My landlord is also a nursery who's been around for 30 years. So they have a big operation there as well. So they've got about over 50 people working there. So we basically entwined. I've got my space, they've got their space, but we integrate the production of the seedling. So there is quite a number of males on the premises. And I must say the first year especially, if I would speak to the supervisors, they would be that look, they would look at you funny. If you speak to the guys who's doing the spraying and you were actually saying, do not spray the flowers, they would actually look you in your face and go and spray the flowers, to the point where I went back one day and I said, are you just looking at my pretty face and not hearing the words come, stuff like that. But coming back to safety, I do keep it in mind, in the back of my mind. I'm never alone at the nursery. I do have males working for us. So we're never alone. There's cameras, like I say. The area that I'm in, even though Philippi is known as one of the hot spots, it's also a big area. So the portion that I'm in is close to the main road, so we don't have incidences there. But safety for me, AD, is really just not being alone ever. I take my dog with to the nursery, just being vigilant. So a lot of people have it a lot harder because they don't have the security, they don't have the electric fence. I really don't know how much more like worries and fear they sit with. But like you saying, yeah, it's real. And the other day I spoke to my
After your
partner.
community, they're looking after
Yeah.
you, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what you said there was quite profound. I think because there is the love to pull back. So there is those that's going to back you, and there will be the elements who's going to try their luck. But I think the more we get everyone involved and everyone included, then there will be a level of protection.
And Sheena, one last question for you, since you specialize with the wellness aspect of your farm as well. With wellness, we look at cultivating a wholesome lifestyle. It's not just about eating healthy; it's also about being whole inside. And obviously, with the decline of the whole COVID era that we were in, I think all of us went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on how we can use our own farming to sustain us organically. There was a time that garlic was out of stock. You couldn't find it. It was ginger. I panicked hard. I really panicked hard.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I went over to my friends and they were like, why are you stressing? And I said, you don't understand what a wholesome body will do for us in the long run. And some of us are talking amongst each other here as professionals, but I'd love for you to just, before you close, to share with our viewers and our listeners, what is the importance of growing organically versus in your space, bringing in the meditative, the mindfulness aspect? What is the relationship that you have found between mindfulness, wellness, and food?
Maybe that's an interesting one. And the reason why Well, I started my spiritual journey about in my early 20s already. But when I got into yoga about 5, 6 years ago, and that just opened up my mind, I just thought, no, I just need to keep sharing this stuff. So with the ladies and the gents that we employ, I mean, these are people coming from vulnerable communities. Some of them didn't even know about yoga and meditation. So when we started the nursery, I introduced it to them. And by introducing sitting down, becoming conscious of your body, of the way your posture is, they became more aware of their surroundings and how their posture then affects how they feel. They started picking up. This is the interesting thing. These ladies have always, most of them worked in agriculture, but only until we started bringing in the mindful meditation and making them more aware of the environment did they then realize, okay, well, this is actually a seedling that this is a seed I'm sowing. It's turning into a seedling. I then gave them some seedlings to take home because they never bothered starting a garden, even though they had a little space. Then they started growing their own food. And then they started becoming more appreciative, not just of themselves, but also of the work that they do. And if there's one thing I can say, the team that I have, they've got a very high value system built in based on just introducing the wellness into their lives. So what I'm trying to say is that the more aware we are of what it is we are doing, now especially us working with the soil, working with the plants, the more connected we become to nature. And then that just changes the brainwaves, because I can see it in the staff. This is what I'm saying. When they started there a few years ago, they were loud, roary, they would speak out of line. They would sit funny, and they wouldn't be as productive as they are now. But over time, bringing in a lot of different other people as well to share stories and insights, and them being open to it. And then, like I said, you bring out the best in people, and then they've now taken that home, AD. Now their families have been introduced to it. Now that lady introduced her daughter, who's now going to introduce her couple of friends, who's now going to introduce, and that is just to become more aware of who you are, what you're doing, what you're touching, how you're feeling. So that is my connection with food and people. And I think by touching and feeling, that's the quickest way you're going to get connected. Yeah.
So food and people, we know now agriculture is more than just the land that we work on. Thank you, Sheena, so much. You were an amazing and beautiful person with a wonderful story to share with South Africa. And I really hope that you can facilitate some of these sessions for us. I will get on a plane to come.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Into linking farmers to markets. So Sheena has created this beautiful space. We all have beautiful spaces. How are we getting the everyday person to come onto our farm and purchase? Linking farmers to markets. I now welcome Dr. Kumbuzile Musoma. Thank you so much for joining us today. Doctor is an agricultural economist, also a pioneer and trailblazer in her own right. She's currently a senior manager for agribusiness development at the National Agricultural Marketing Council. She's known to be an authoritative speaker of a risk and relationship management, research, project finance, and best practice ethics, operational processes, return on investment, strategic business growth. Her CV is extensive. Prior to joining the National Agriculture Market, Dr. was a senior advisor for business strategy at Eskom Holdings. And she was also an assistant director at the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. So, Doctor, welcome with us this morning. We are so excited to have you on board. Please, you have got such a wide range of skill sets and tasks to do in your day-to-day life. I can only imagine how it looks in your household. Please share with us, what are you currently busy with now? And what are the things that us as female agripreneurs, what are the things that we should be paying attention to within our market as it stands in 2025?
Thank you so much, Ade. Greetings to everyone on the platform. Today, I would like to share with you about market access, for farmers, especially the ladies, you know, in agriculture. I don't know if it's possible for me to share my presentation, Adi.
Yes, please do so. We'd love to see.
Okay. Okay, is it visible on your side?
Visible, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here today. My presentation is outlined as follows. I'll just share with you, colleagues, about the NAMC, and then share about the challenges faced by the farmers in agriculture, and then give you a bit about the market opportunities, but also to share with you on what the sector has done to ensure that farmers are comprehensively supported by talk to you about the agriculture and agro-processing master plan. So the NAMC was established in terms of MAP Act of 1996. Our mandate is to advise the minister on issues relating to the marketing of agricultural produce. We also advise the minister on issues relating to the statutory measures, but we also conduct investigations and advise the minister on the outcome of those investigations. And we are guided by the 4 objectives of the MAP Act, and the objectives that allow me to sit here and share with you today is the first objectives that says increasing market access to all market participants. So there are other 3, and the second one is more efficient marketing of agricultural products. It's optimizing export earnings from agricultural products, and the 4th one is enhanced viability of the agricultural products. So the NAMC has got 5 operational programs. Program number 1 is about business excellence, where you found your human resources, your risk and compliance, communications, and finance. Program number 2 is our body of knowledge, and we call it the Market and Economic Research Center. We've got that program called the Statutory Measures, a division that monitor the statutory levy application process. Program number 4 is the Agricultural Industry Trust that safeguards and monitor the trust funds. And program number 5 is agribusiness development. That's the one I'm responsible for. We are designing and testing the market access models for inclusivity and transformation in the sector. This is the NAMC, but now it's very important to understand what's happening in the sector. As I highlighted initially, is that most of the farmers are facing the challenges, you know, but today I want to focus on the challenges that we face in the marketing of agricultural produce. While there are other challenges, but in the marketing space, because our role is to link the farmers with the market, what is it that we see farmers encountering? Number 1 is inadequate research on the marketing of their produce. You know, for a farmer, you know, to be successful, it's important that they do a research in terms of the understanding what their customers want and how do they want the packaging. For example, I am staying in Pretoria. If you're staying in Pretoria in the suburbs, you find that the families are small. So you find a mother, a father, and their 2 children or 1 child. And when they buy a cabbage, you go to Spar or to Pick n Pay, you find that the cabbage is cut into half and it's sold around, you know, between 15 rand and 20 rands. Why are they cutting into half? Because they know that in this area, there are small families and you don't want to buy the big head of cabbage and you keep it for the whole month. We all about freshness. But if you go to the rural areas, where you'll find me and my family visiting, maybe my grandmother, it's my cousin and their children, it's my sister and their children, it's my uncle and their families. What we buy there is the big head of cabbage so that everybody can eat. So it's very important to understand your market. The second challenge is the lack of market and production information. So most of the farmers, especially women and the old farmers, the youth are trying to use their gadgets, you know, to get to Google, but the women, most women and the old farmers, they're struggling to get market information. They don't know where to find information about the price trends. They don't know where to get the market intelligence, and they rely more on the traders, you know, to tell them what's happening and what are the prices that are given. Most is they just plant for the sake of planting. They don't know the market requirements, they don't know the volumes that are required by the market. There's also a communication problems. You know, most of the farmers, they are up by 4 o'clock and they go to the field and they work up until maybe around 11, 12 because it's very hot. And because they're in the field, they'll be missing out on, you know, the telephones, the news, the radio. So you find out most of the programs that are offered for farmers on radios, they are done early hours of the morning. You find the program on market information, it's aired around 4 a.m. So it's very important to know how to reach the farmers. And it's also very important for farmers to know how they access the information. The farmers are struggling with the grading and standardization. You know, a farmer will harvest the potatoes. I'll make an example of the potatoes, and they will mix, you know, all the sizes. So it's very important that a farmer do a product selection so that they don't mix the inferior and the superior produce, so that they be able to get a better price for a good quality and also channel those that are not good to maybe agro-processing. There's also the issue of manipulation of weights and measure, but you know, it depends on the farmer's knowledge and having all the infrastructure to assist them in terms of weighing and so that they are able to get good prices. There's issues around inadequate storage capacity and warehouses. If you're farming with vegetables, I'll make an example with spinach. It's very important that as soon as you harvest your spinach, you take it to the pack house, you start washing and sorting it out and take it to the market. But if you don't have a pack house, you won't be able to keep the freshness of your spinach. If the spinach is exposed to the sun, and then the quality deteriorate, and in that way you're going to lose heavily on your produce, and you find that the quality of the produce is wasted. There's also the issues around the transport facilities. Imagine if you look at the truck, you know, on the left-hand side, if you're going to load your tomatoes in this truck, and this truck will travel from Limpopo to Joburg Fresh Produce Market. Imagine by the time the truck gets to Joburg, there will be a mix-up. It's going to be a juice and tomato sauce at once there. And especially if the truck has to travel on poor roads. Some of the produce require refrigerated trucks. So it's very important that we've got proper transport facilities. There are other challenges around lack of farmer organizations. You know, if farmers are scattered, it's difficult to channel comprehensive support to them. It's difficult for buyers or stakeholders that support farmers to approach them one by one. But if farmers are organized, it's easy for them to get information about the quality and the quantity of produce. It's also very, you know, important that the information they get is tested and is guarded in order to deal with the exploitation. There are also large numbers of middlemen. You know, if there's a middleman between a farmer and the market, we are likely to lose some of the profits to the middleman. So we always encourage farmers to sell directly to the market. Although some of the big market, like the retailers, they request, you know, aggregators, you know, companies that will deal with all the smallholder farmers and ensure that they comply. And farmers are also faced with a false sales. For example, if the farmer has got the land, but they don't have money to buy all the inputs, what they normally do is that they will get into contracts with some funders, and the funder will force them to sell at the price that suits them. So they end up selling their produce with low prices, and then they don't make profit. And there are other challenges, you know, this silo mentality of different stakeholders who are supporting the farmers, and the special excessive focus, you know, on the poverty alleviation projects instead of supporting the farmers comprehensively, and the low agricultural research and innovation, and also low access, you know, to technology development. And I think for the agricultural sector to deal with these challenges, it's very important that they readjust the approach by consolidation of resources and forming a great and authentic partnership between public and private sector. So with all the challenges that I've shared with you, it's not all of them, there are others, but I just focus on the one that talks to market access, because market access is very important, and it's very important for us to define as we define market access at the NAMC. We are saying is the ability of the farmer to produce quality produce and supply to a sustainable and competitive market. And as NAMC, we have design a market access facilitation program. This program enabled the farmers to have access to the market. This program encourages farmers to farm for a market. What do I mean with that is that the farmer must not put a seed in the soil without knowing where to sell the produce. The farmer cannot plant 10,000 heads of cabbage and come to NAMC and say, I've harvested cabbages, they're sitting in the truck outside. NAMC, help us find the market. It's going to be difficult. But we are saying that before the farmer starts soil preparation, they must know that they've already sealed a contract with the buyer. So the process flow that we follow, or the model that we follow at NAMC, we start working from markets backwards, which means we identify the market and we understand the market needs, and we also study the viability of this market, because it's very important that the market is sustainable and consistent. And we start engaging the buyers. When we engage the buyer, we try to solicit a document called specification. This document is there to protect both the producer and the seller. This specification will talk about the quantity, we'll talk about the price, we'll talk about the packaging, the chemicals that are allowed and those that are not allowed. And once we have done that, we will try to find a production area. If the buyer is saying we are looking for dry beans, we have to find a production area. If the production area is Free State, we'll go to the Department of Agriculture. We'll request a list of farmers that are producing beans, and then we'll start profiling those farmers. Excuse me. And when we profile the farmers, we are trying to understand the challenges that they are faced with. And from that needs assessment report, we'll identify the stakeholders that will come on board and comprehensively support the farmers so that they can supply the market that we've identified and link with them. And we are not working alone as NAMC, but we work with other stakeholders to ensure that the farmer are comprehensively supported. We work with the National Department of Agriculture, the one that assists us with policies. We also work with the provincial government, those who assist with funding, access to extension services, and handhold the farmer through their production season. We also work with state-owned entities like ARC. They do a lot of research on different commodities. OBP, they offer vaccines for the animals. PPECP deals with the compliance and certification, because most of the buyers will require SA GAAP or global GAAP. NAMC focus is market access and make sure that they do a lot of research so that they can also guide the previously disadvantaged groups. We work with the funders, it can be land bank, the development agencies, it can be the commercial banks. It depends on the commodity and capability of the farmer to be able to access the funds that are available. We also work with the industries and the commodity organizations. Those mostly they offer technical support to the farmers, and they also offer some of the information on marketing, especially if you have to export. Example, if a citrus farmer come to NAMC, we channel them to the Citrus Grower Association so that they can be assisted comprehensively there. There are more resources that focusing more on citrus. So that's how we work with the industries and commodity groups. In the past, we also work with the NGOs. We also work close with the farmer organizations. And the types of markets that are available, depending on the capability and the negotiation skills of the farmer, there are retail markets. You can supply your Pick and Pay, your Spars, your Checkers, and so on. And you can be put on the supplier development programs so that you are able to comply to the requirements. You can supply the fresh produce market. I think we've got about 15 fresh produce markets in South Africa. At least there is one in each province, and the biggest one is the Joburg Fresh Produce Market, the one that is in the city deep. You can also supply the school feeding programs. There are a number of vegetables that you can supply there. You can supply meat, you can supply eggs. You just need to know who is responsible for that program in your province. You can also supply your agricultural produce to the agri-processing companies. If you're farming with peanuts, you can sell your peanuts to a peanut butter factory or to the sweets factory, because that's where they use a lot of nuts. You can supply the hospitality industry. Here we are talking about the restaurants, the lodges, the hotels, and the guest houses. It's nice if you've got small quantities you can supply on a daily basis or every second day. Maybe supply your lettuce, your tomatoes, your cucumbers. You can really have a contract with the hospitality industry and supply them daily. There's also markets such as hospitals and prisons, but there's also informal markets where you just go out into the open area and then you sell to people who knows about the market, and they come to the market and buy whatever that is there. So there are a number of platforms where you can sell your produce. What's important is that you must know your market and you must really produce for that market. You must have a documentation in place. You must ensure that you comply to the food safety standards. It's important that I share with you ladies on the platform about the agriculture and agro-processing master plan. This is a social compact of the agricultural sector. In this document, you'll find the participation of the 3 spheres of government, the business where we have the commercial and emerging, you'll find the labor and other interested group. And the question might be, what is different with this document? This one has got a change theory for district-based community value chains via the 8 production schemes. It supports a new class of farmer, the agripreneurs, the rural middle class, and drive mass production, industrialization, and consumption. And who will benefit from this master plan is the new farmers that are coming on board, but also the existing one, but also to create jobs. And the estimated jobs to be created is 317,000. We also going to have access to 10,000 more extension services. It's also going to support 63,500 agripreneurs, but benefit 1.2 million households with a bias to women and youth. I hope you've heard that. We're going to prioritize women and youth and farm and rural dwellers. And in terms of funding, there are private-public partnership where you get the blended finance, you get the private equities and the statutory levies and trust funds that you can access depending on the commodity that you are producing. And we also partner with MARA department, which is Department of Agriculture. We also work close with rural development in terms of looking at the land that is available for the farmers. And this is a 10-year document. Our timeline will end in 2030. There's 2 delivery models. It's a production scheme and the value chain roundtables. So as a farmer, you really need to participate, because we don't want to plan for the farmers, but we want to plan with the farmers so that whatever that concern you is taken care of. We cannot think for the farmer, but if we work together, we'll be able to come up with a model that will work for you. And in this 2 delivery models, the production scheme is where you find both the public and the private sector working together to ensure that they assist the farmers with inputs, with marketing, with infrastructure, with policy issues. And so far, the public and the private sector, they've designed the citrus, the red meat, the mohair, the cotton, the wool and wine. This year we are working on designing the fruit and the grains. So there is a lot of work that we do as an AMC. We were appointed by the former Honorable Minister Didiza to design and coordinate this master plan. Hence, I thought it's very important that I share with the ladies on board on this work, because everything that you do for a farmer to get a comprehensive support, you must align yourself with the existing, programs that are there to support the farmers. Thank you. Back to you, AD.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumbuzile. That was really extensive. It's very welcoming to read and to see these beautiful presentations, because there's a lot of red tape that goes into what we do. As you said, food safety, food security, hygiene, and everything in between. My question to you, Dr. Kumbuzile, I would like to know what is the role of our municipality at a lower level for us farmers that are struggling or have questions. Sometimes it's not as easy to always maybe say shoot for the stars and go to agri movements and people like you that are maybe not so easy to reach. So we sometimes get, I won't say a question, but you know, our councillors and our municipality, they like to come and double check what's going on, and then they want to ask questions about water, and they want to ask us questions, and sometimes it's not always a piece of paper that one can just take over the table or the gate and show them. So I'd like to know, on that lower level in municipality, in our districts, what is the role that we can use to find support from them to get closer up the ladder to where you sit, or where there are different forums that can say, yes, we are willing and able to facilitate the process to organize the farmers. We're expecting them to kind of know, but some people don't know. So that's my question, is when met with local level, not conflict really, but yeah, investigations, how do we work with our local level municipality to eventually become of such a designation? I actually wrote it here, a good support facilitation structure. Could you guide us on that?
Thank you so much for the question. My advice is that if there is a farmer, you know, that will try to get support, the first stop will be to knock at the Department of Agriculture in the province, and sometimes there are district offices. That's the first step. Yes, we work close with the municipalities, especially on setting up the laws when we talk about access to water, access to electricity, and other infrastructure like the roads and, you know, the roads. But the first stop is to engage your Department of Agriculture. We try to bring both the public and the private sector in assisting farmers, but that works well if we have grouped the farmers so that we ensure that there is more impact. The municipalities are there. However, it depends on which community we are dealing with or which problem we are trying to solve. If it's roads, they really play a huge role. If it's the issue of water, the issue of water rights, the Department of Water will also assist. We try to bring everyone on board. If it's about issues of energy, we bring ESCOM. We also bring the local municipality to assist us put the solars and so on. There are also a number of programs on other organizations. For example, the IDC will offer a program where a farmer can buy the solar, you know, infrastructure and put in the farms while we are dealing with the issues of energy. So, but my main advice, knock at the Department of Agriculture and they will take you places. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have an agenda for the rest of my week. I know where I'm going. Send pin location. Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing this insight with us. It's a place to start, and a place to start means we can go somewhere, right? Is there any questions from any of our viewers, our listeners? Are there any questions from the other facilitators? There is a box at the bottom of your screen. You can just go and type it there, and you will find an answer for you over there. In closing, I think it's important to note that South African agriculture is standing at a crossroads, one where resilience, innovation, and community must come together. As women, whether we are leading farms, running businesses, raising families, or simply tending to a garden in our backyard, we are part of that story. To the everyday woman, know that agriculture isn't only for those with vast land or big machinery. It begins with a seed, a pot of herbs, a few chickens, or simply the courage to grow something meaningful. You are already a custodian of food security and a carrier of healing through nature. To the leaders in this space, the way forward is not only about scale and profit, but about inclusivity and legacy. We have the opportunity to open doors, mentor, ensure that the future of farming in South Africa has the fingerprints of us women all over it. My hope is that we leave here today remembering that agriculture is not just about producing food, it's also about producing hope, dignity, and a future worth inheriting. If we as women rise together in this space, we will grow more than crops. We will grow South Africa. Thank you so much all for joining us on behalf of Proudly South Africa and the rest of everyone that's growing something here today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and that something will sprout out of your soil this weekend. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you to AD and to everyone else.
I do. I will ensure that all of our slides that are shareable will be placed in a space where it can be emailed to everybody so that we can go through our notes and hopefully learn something and take it with us in our journeys forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.